Hello, welcome to an episode of Lostlikemike. I'm your host, Mike Gonzalez. I'm back again. I'll give me that much. I have really kept true to my commitment to hitting that record button. Some days it's harder than others. But anyway, thank you for joining. If it's your first time, welcome. And hit the like button or rate it well or comment. Of course, my favorite thing is to ask you to email me at lostlikemike@gmail.com. This is another week where I just don't really want to do an episode, but usually those are the weeks that I really, really need to do an episode, but just don't want to. Do you ever walk around thinking that it just doesn't make any sense why nobody else is feeling the way you are? Like, it seems obvious that everybody should be feeling the way you are, and that there must be something wrong with you or everybody else, because it just doesn't make sense. Sometimes it just feels like it's just all a simulation. That I'm really bad at faking it, and so how can everybody else be so good at it? Or, if I'm barely hanging on, but I'm looking around and I just don't see it. Everybody's acting like everything's cool, and I just don't get it. Sometimes it feels like that. I wonder if you can relate. Yeah, so anyway, I really just don't want to be just sitting in my thoughts today. So I thought maybe we could be a little distracting today. Maybe we can just think about some other things, force ourselves to go down some rabbit holes and talk about other things. Give ourselves a little bit of a break from being so caught up in our own issues and anxieties. I thought maybe we could just keep it loose and pretend like everything isn't falling apart. I guess we could start with a bit of the updates like we like to do. My place of employment did some shots. We did COVID shots and flu shots at my work. which is, yet another cool thing about where I work. I was just, they brought in a company to come do it, and so my wife and daughter had done their flu shots the weekend prior to it, and I didn't go with them because I was going to do the COVID shot and the flu shot at the same time. So gave me a little bit of a break. I didn't have to do it when they did it. But so I go into this room within the building that I'm working at, and I of course forgot that I was going to do the shot, so I had to take off an overshirt and stuff, and I'm watching this other guy get his shots. And my wife messages me and she says, "Hey, don't forget to do what you tell your daughter to do." And I forgot. I was like, what do I tell her to do? And she said, because apparently I had come up with this thing when my daughter has to get shots. I tell her to do the alphabet. I tell her by the time she gets to whatever letter that it'll be done. It's just, if they say, do you want me to tell you, or I'm about to do your shot, do you want me to, are you ready, or whatever. And you can try this at home because it really does work. If you're going to get a shot, just start staring at the wall and saying the alphabet. So my wife text messages me, don't forget to do that. And then the lady that's giving the shot, she says, "All right, do you want both shots on the same arm, or do you want, and I'm like, I started picturing like when if you've ever gotten the flu shot, you're more, I guess, maybe COVID too. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So my arm would get really sore. So I thought, well, I'm not going to incapacitate myself and have both arms sore. So, I was like, okay, I'll get both on the same arm. And so the flu shot, I didn't even feel it. It was hardly anything. I mean, I was like, maybe ABCD. And then it's like, but then it's like the COVID shot, I swear she was like aiming for the same hole, because it was like, it was very painful. And it's like, I was telling her, she said, "Wow, that one must have hurt." And I was just, I couldn't picture it. I said, "What, did I make a face?" And she's like, "Yeah, that one looked like you were really in pain." And I was like, what letter of the alphabet was I on that elemental, I don't know what I did. Apparently I couldn't contain my pain expression. But yeah, arm hurt for the rest of the day, but that's all done. I already felt a little bit. We talked about that on the last episode. My voice has been garbage, and if it's not the flu, it's not COVID, I don't know. It's just something. But we do these shots to give us immunity, or to reduce the overall effects or whatever variants that we're covering. But You know, there's so many illnesses, so many different things out there. Half the time, you know, upper respiratory infections, um, and they don't know what to call it or what the root of it is. I don't know what that means, you know. Um, the other day I was thinking about, I didn't stay home for the first part of COVID. The job that I was working at the time kept um, a few of us on as essential workers, and it was very much like I Am Legend, and I don't think that it's going to be depicted in the future as well. As I mean, I don't know if it's reflected, because I mean, I would drive to work in the morning with no traffic on major highways, just sporadic single cars here and there. It was very strange. And I worked with my buddy, it was just the two of us, for a long time. And we're maintaining a building, and if you've ever been in a building that's been virtually abandoned for, you know, any period of time, I mean, we literally caught 30 rats or rats and field mice of various sizes. Um, oh, I remember that. I mean, I have a hamster now, and the poor thing doesn't get any love from me because I can't even, you know. But I mean, we were we did a good job cleaning out the building, and these rats and mice or whatever were at first, you know, I guess surviving on eating whatever scraps and things that they could find, garbage, whatnot. And then after a while, the fewer and fewer we were finding, we would find them on the traps, and they would be halfway eaten by other rats. I mean, just the stuff we would see was super gross. Sorry, I probably should have put a little warning, but I didn't know I was going to say it. It's too bad. But it felt like we were on some, you know, one of those space station movies where like where the guy's living on Mars, and I keep wanting to say Matthew McConaughey, but that's gonna bug me. Anyway, blew that joke. You know, where you just kind of, it's just the two of us, and we're going through the motions and working and doing what we had to do. Sometimes we forget that there was a world out there. I remember once we were walking around the building with one of these giant trash things on wheels. Wow, I just know all the words, right? Yeah, it was like this. We called him a hippo, but this big, giant trash holder. And we were walking around the building. We had probably done it a couple times, and you would see for all the buildings around, and nobody was around. Nobody was at the buildings. I mean, just abandoned ghost town. And I remember one time walking around taking this trash thing, and there was a man with a backpack, just minding his business, walking in across the parking lot. And I swear, we went from 0 to Walking Dead zombie prepped like in seconds. We were both like, "You see him? Yeah, I see him." I don't know what we're gonna do. Bash him on the head and bury him or something. It just because it was so foreign to see another living human being. It was that those primal instincts take over, and yeah. But I was thinking there were periods of time where inevitably I got COVID. Um, well, yeah. And it put me in home. And I started looking back on it. Obviously, it's a global pandemic. It sucked. Yeah, a lot of people lost their lives. A lot of people, lost their sanity. Were detached from, other friends and family or people. I mean, I could tell you stories just with the horrible, unfortunate circumstances with my brother. But right after that, when I got the COVID, in the city I live in, there was a big freeze. And so we were stuck in our home, right? So it was like a whole month or however that I was stuck. And it's like you take the good with the bad, right? It's kind of like trying to find the silver lining. Or I spent so much time with my daughter. And my wife. We hung out. I don't know. There was this one, you forget about it because it seems so distant, so unbelievable that these things happened. I really felt for the longest time that people manifested it. I do feel that way in a lot of instances. I feel that people have and I'm talking about like overall as a society, they have this fascination or romanticized vision of dystopian futures, or these extenuating circumstances that forced to find out what we're capable of, But it felt like that big only, I mean, obviously I'm not saying that we manifested these weather occurrences but it was, or this pandemic, whatever, but some would argue that the pandemic is man-made, but I'm not even saying that. I'm more saying there was just an eagerness to, when you look at popular culture and all these movies that were out, and it seemed like everybody was just chomping at the bit for this opportunity, or like to be put into a position where they had to figure out what to do. Anyway, I just, in the sense of, I remember getting in the car when it was like my city was frozen and the weather advisory refused anybody from going to work, power outages around the city, people having to have their, survive off of their fireplaces and canned goods, and I was recently reminded of this, and it's going to sound silly because I'm not really trying to make a joke, but I was recently reminded of this while watching Joe Coy have his comedy special. He makes a joke about how, so many men were, he was talking about COVID though, but being the hunter-gatherer providers for their family, taking the big risk and going shopping for the peanut butter or whatever, jelly. That's what his joke was. But I remember saying to my wife, I'll find us some food during the freeze, because everything was shut down, but there was rumors about like a Walmart open here or a Dollar General there. And you're just, I mean, when you live in the South and there's a freeze, you don't have the chains on your tires or any sort of knowledge of what to do and how to be, right? I mean, some do. I didn't. How about like that? Let's just be honest. But, I've gotten good at slippy sliding and, and anyway, I was able to drive a little bit, and I remember I got to a Dollar General or one of those dollar stores. I mean, I keep saying Dollar General like it's a paid ad, but it was like one of those places, and it was so picked over. Yeah, there was all these bundled up people. I remember there's this one lady, and she was like, "Everybody calm down. Everybody, there's plenty, but everybody calm down." I was like, "Bitch, I'm just, who's freaking out? You. Nobody's, I'm not freaking out. I'm just looking for, some whatever scraps, And I called my wife because there was like Hot Pockets or like and I'd found this one block or this one thing, and it was like shredded. and it was called I don't remember the brand, but the tagline was, "It's almost like cheese." It was like, that was the thing on the side of the label. It was shredded cheese, but they couldn't call it cheese or something. And I remember being on the phone, and I'm scooting this cart, and these people are, putting cans of Spam or whatever they had that they found, and I'm pushing this with these frozen pizzas that were like, I mean, they looked like frozen pizzas. I don't even think we ended up eating them, but I remember pushing the cart and saying, "It says it's almost like cheese. Should I get it?" It was so stupid. But yeah, and then I found this meat market, this like mom and pop meat market, and I just bought like a whatever, like assorted, like they had a like chopped up chicken and like just sausage and meat and stuff. It was a real lifesaver. I mean, I'm sure they were just like, needing to sell their shit, so it's all good. But felt like it definitely was like his joke was, you show up with your chopped up chicken and almost cheese, and you're like, I'm a hero today. But it's so weird to think, because we have so much abundance, that to even think that things were like that. But on the positive side, I did feel blessed to have spent so much time with my family. Because like I said, I never took time off, even during COVID. When the world shut down, I was still working. Obviously, the nights and stuff like that were, and weekends were with family. But like, just to say, people don't realize how much of a blessing that time, if you did get to spend time with family or friends and stuff, how much of a blessing it was. At least it was for me. And I'm lately trying to get into the mode of being appreciative of things like that. But anyway, so by the time this comes out, and I'm assuming by the time this comes out, I wanted to say the topic's probably going to be played out, and I'm not really going to I'll say what my gut reaction was to it first, and then sort of where I am at now, or where, because it's, who knows if it's where I'm gonna end up with it. But not to skirt around the subject, but it may be played out by now, but I wanted to think about it for a minute. But the topic is adult Happy Meals. McDonald's recently came out with the fact that they already are selling these adult Happy Meals. Self-explanatory what they are. They're a meal, whether it's I think nuggets or a Big Mac or some kind of thing, and it's in a container like a Happy Meal, like for kids, and it's going to come with a toy, and it's going to be geared towards adults. And at first, when I heard that they were coming out with this, number one, I do think that McDonald's needs to be they've always had they've been very savvy with their marketing. Very clever. Their slogans, their jingles, their stuff, whatever. They've always been very talented in terms of the toys they pick for the kids, who they associate the brand with, and but my first thought was negative in terms of what it said about adults in America, right? And I think that comes from a place where a lot of times I feel like a very cynical perception that I have of America. A lot of times I feel like we're in a classroom without a teacher, and everybody's just knocking off, and people are just like kids, spitting spitballs and just swinging from the light fixtures, you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like that, and obviously when I first heard of it, I thought that's why my mind went that McDonald's is tapping into the sentiment that that we've just got a bunch of immature population that's just, that they wanted to target. But the more I thought about it, and the more I the more I think about it now, well, it just got me to thinking about the fact that we live in an age of collectibles, of comic book conventions, and where people my age and older are wearing their Thundercats t-shirts and with their Autobot and Decepticon insignias on their vehicles, and I had to think, well, I'm trying to figure out, or was, what essentially sent me down the rabbit hole was whether that was a good or bad thing. I love it when people, well, I'm being sarcastic, but I don't really like it when people use the Bible to justify their positions one way or the other. I do feel like there's an incredible amount of wisdom in the Bible. But I try not to use spin on. Okay, so let me break it down. There was a passage in 1 Corinthians in the Bible, and it's pretty famous. A lot of people are familiar with it. And I'll paraphrase or try to. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Right? That's the point of entry in the conversation. But what he's talking about, and it's, I don't mean to be bold and to speak on behalf of the person that wrote this, but my understanding, or my takeaway, is concerning maturity and concerning the interpretation of the world around. Where as a child, I thought as a child. I spoke as a child. I acted like a kid. But now I don't. And it's not to say that you don't play, is the main thing. It's not to say that you don't joke and have fun and whatever. It's the childish aspects of it, or the immaturity, has to do with, as far as I'm concerned, we all have obligations as adults, right? We don't get to do everything that we want to do as adults. Provide for our family. Means working a job a lot of times. Although, if you're lucky, it's something that you're passionate in doing, and you try to find something that utilizes your talents. But you don't get to say, nah, I don't really feel like doing it. You do it, whatever it is, because it's providing for those you care about. It's a responsibility. It's separate from the idea of playing. The person who who does provide for his family can also have a toy collection. I'm not all these little trinkets and stuff. That's all given to me by my daughter, but I do. I mean, whenever I get a chance, I play music with my friends and my family. I play Fortnite with my son whenever he will put up with me playing with him, and I'll sit there and play with my wife. I play dolls and with toys with my daughter. And I think it's important. And I mean, I went down the rabbit hole a bit with it, and I mean, I have apps on my phone where I play games a lot of times, and there's research that shows that it's good for brain functionality. It breaks the monotony, stimulates your creativity. I mean, it releases endorphins. I mean, I think if you're working out or exercising, it's better for that. As far as doing that is better for you. But I used to play on a sports league. And I think it's important to do that, to play, to find enjoyment. It's as well as it's important to express yourself artistically and to have that, those avenues of release. But that's what I'm saying. So, like, if you want to get an adult Happy Meal, it's just say, you earn that. If you pay for it with money that you earned in a job and that you provide for your family. And I mean, maybe somebody can tell me if the toy is something that adults would like. I mean, I'm not familiar with what they're offering. I can't imagine that it would be something. I mean, I know that adults like certain anime and certain. So if it was like maybe, I don't know. But I guess nobody really has an idea of why we're here or what we're supposed to be doing in this time on Earth. And not to get too heady about it, I'm just trying to figure it out all the time. Looking for purpose and looking for meaning. Scared of it all ending, and I just think that part of the reason that we're here is to laugh and to smile and to enjoy ourselves and to have fun. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's important to do things that bring that out of you. And I think I got it to where I told my family that I have to meet once a week. We have to have some kind of meal together, because those connections are so important. That time together, laughing and joking and telling stories, and I think that feeling those things, feeling family, feeling connected, is a reason that we're here. I started going, well, let's call it what it is. I went last week and I'm going back to church on this Sunday. I plan to start going on every Sunday. And before the resident atheists express your frustration, which that's your business, but if you've never gone to a church, there's a sense of community, of spiritual connectedness. I would highly recommend it. I think religion is semantics. I think spirituality is where it's at. And there's just, everything else is language. Everything else is trying to figure out how to talk about it, what to figure out about it, and none of us are knowledgeable enough to be able to express it with our current technology, with our current vocabulary. We just don't know enough. But for thousands of years, people have expressed it the best they can. And there is truth in there. More important than anything else, you have to trust how you feel. And I need that connection. I need that. I walked into the church last week in a very bad place. I'm still in a bad place. And the preacher or the pastor, he just starts off by saying, "Are you ready for the good news?" And I just said, I did not expect that. I expected him to be, wallowing in the same place that I was at, for whatever reason. Just to be like somber and say that we all need to, I don't know, pray for peace or pray for this crazy world we're living in, and something. But he just said, "Are you ready for good news?" And I was like, "Please." By all means, tell me something good. And there's something, and I'm telling you, there's something powerful to a room of 500 people saying peace be with you, extending their hands out to you. At this one section where the Catholics do it. I came up Catholic, and so, but where we say, turn to your neighbor and say hi. In Catholicism, you say peace be with you, and they say peace with you. You know, I'm sure there's a version of that in all faiths, but here they were just like, greet your neighbor, let them know that, you know, you're happy to see him or whatever. And people, just strangers, hey man, I'm happy to see you here. God bless you. A hand on the shoulder, or shaking a hand, whatever. And I don't know, it was very, very positive for me. And I'm not out of the woods. I'm in a horrible place, but that's why I really need to involve myself in a lot of these things. I'm just, it's, and you know, I'd love to talk to a therapist or like a psychiatrist or whatever the case is. I don't know what I need. But I feel like my battle is of a spiritual nature as well as a mental one, and it's just very difficult to find reasons when there's so much anxiety or so much internal angst and issue. So, but yeah, I'm doing those every week. And I plan to do, you know, it's hard to do positive things. It's hard to know how to like do normal things like exercise and all that other stuff. So I'm trying one step at a time. And I think the only thing that's keeping me doing the podcast is that permission that I gave myself to not always have to have a topic, to not always, as long as I am being honest with you, I'll need to do it. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be funny. It doesn't have to be witty or insightful. It just has to be. As long as it is, I can go another week. It's weird to think about things like that. You know, there's no secret to, it's just putting one foot in front of the other. It's just, you keep going because you have no choice but to keep going. I remember I got into a big fight in my first year of college. It's way back when they were talking about honorable suicide with, I'm probably going to butcher it. I wonder if I can look it up. It was, let me see if I can spell it. Because there's the Sabu. Well, of course I mean that. No, I don't mean enjoying yourself skiing. What kind of spelling? But anyway, the idea was the samurai, and they would gut themselves, kill themselves. Well, stupid, why don't you look up that instead? And seppuku. It's a samurai practice used voluntarily to die with honor rather than fall into the hands of their enemy. Often known as harikiri, but I thought there was no honor in suicide, and I have my reasons to be passionate against the idea of suicide, but and I never would in the no matter what, even, you know, but the idea of uncertainty of, and it sounds so anyway, the idea of what comes after, and it feels like that metaphor when I talked in a few episodes ago about being in line to go on the water slide. It's just been haunting me every so often since I've said it. Where when you, I guess I equate it with finding a purposeful life or trying to figure out the purpose and meaning behind the things that we go through. But I get these, and I don't mean to sound downer about it, and I don't mean to sound negative, and I don't want the last thing I talk about on tonight's podcast to be negative, but I'm just trying to be real and share this with everybody. But a recap was that you find yourself on this line going up to do this water slide that I was terrified of. I mean, take it easy. I wasn't terrified, but I was very anxious and I didn't want to do it because I don't do rides. I don't do roller coasters. I don't do water slides. But I inadvertently had to promise my daughter I was going to do this ride. And yes, that meant that my young daughter was going to get on this ride and she was fine. But here I am, a grown-ass man, freaking out. All right. But the idea was that the line to get to the top of the slide was far worse than the actual slide. The line was 15, 20 minutes of stress and anxiety for 15 minutes. Not knowing what it was going to be like, freaking out, etc. Only to get to the top of the slide virtually just on the verge of a panic attack, lightheaded. And then I get on the slide, and granted, I rolled all the way down the slide backwards and, screamed like a wounded donkey, but no big deal. I made it through. But a lot of times I feel like, or that's the comparison, lately I've been feeling like my life is just going up a set of ladders, of stairs, dreading and anticipating the inevitable. And every day it gets worse, and every day I get more anxious because I don't control any of it, and I don't know what the slide is going to end up being, and go from there. And when the more and more I get further down the line, I feel like you always feel like it's so far away, and then my brother dies, and he would have been, I'm already older than he was when he died, which is weird. So you start doing all this crazy math, and with all the craziness out in the world, you just don't even know. And I was, I never was guaranteed. Right now, somebody could mistake my house for some banger's house and shoot me up with the drive-by. So, is that how the kids say it? Stupid. No, but I mean, my house can collapse in some freak accident and squish me and be done with it. It could be my throat hurting, can be some COVID variant, and I could be gone tomorrow. There's always been the fragility of mortality, but for some reason, it's just lately feel like it's overwhelming. And I don't know why. I don't watch the news. I don't have an open news feed on my phone or any of it like I used to. So many things trigger me to start thinking of all these negative things, and it's just not. It's the root of all problems for me. So, anyway, there you go. There's a little insight. I don't know. I don't mean to bum you out. Really, doing this podcast is one of the few things that gives me an outlet. I don't do the other things as much as I'd like to. So when I say thank you for listening, thank you for being a part of the conversation, I really mean it. I need those comments, and I need those emails and show ideas. But I need this platform more than I let on. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time. Have a good week. Keep your chin ups. We'll survive. We'll live to tell the tale next week. And